here, and if it pops up here, is it going to let me choose whether I go live or not? All right, we are actually in the process of patching features into Spectre WM, and I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go. So, because I'm a live streaming noob, and I really don't know. But I guess actually we're getting a couple of viewers in here already, it seems like. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. I'm going to change scenes here. And what I have right here is a Debian 10 Buster VM here with no desktop environment at all. It's just a TTY. And I have just installed it, you know, off stream, and just logged in, installed Git and Vim, and that's really about it. So what I want to do now is just install Spectre WM, and then sorry, I can't talk today. There's a lot going on here. But anyway, what I want to do is install Spectre WM from source and patch in some features that are upcoming in Spectre WM, and hopefully not break anything. So tell you what, let's get started, and we'll go ahead and install dependencies and build it and all that. So let's just get started. So I'm going to log in with Mike. All right. Oh, hi, Bruce. Happy 2021. So what I want to do now is just go ahead and clear the screen, and let's sudo apt install git vim. Let's see. Let's do build essential. Let's do xorg x server xorg suckless tools and xterm. Then I'm going to have to install some libraries and stuff. So while that's running, I'm going to check the chat real quick. Joshua Lee says, "Hey there, been watching a lot of your stuff lately. Thanks for the suckless content. Really helped me wrap my head around it all." Well, you're welcome, Joshua. It took me a while to wrap my head around it as well. So, but hopefully, yeah, hopefully we're going to be successful today with Spectre WM too. And is that watermark I'm seeing over my face? Let me move me. Absolutely, Joshua. It would help a lot if they believed in documentation. Hi, Zoltan. Welcome and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. All right, it seems like we have everything installed here. Let's go ahead and start installing some dependencies. So the dependencies for Spectre WM is going to be a little more than what is shown in apt show. So what I'm going to do here is just say apt show Spectre WM. And the dependencies here is going to show suckless tools, xterm, libxt6, libc6, and all that's going to be required for Spectre WM to run, but not necessarily everything that it needs to build. So let's go ahead and install some stuff that we need to build Spectre WM. I'll clear the screen again and sudo apt install libxt6. I like to install the dev version because that has the symlinks and stuff and extra files for building software. We're going to do libc6 and libx11-6, libx11-xcb1, libxcb-iccm4-dev, libxcb keysims1-dev, libxcb randor0-dev, libxcb util 0-dev, libxcb xinput-dev, libxcb-dev itself, libxcb, actually, you know what, libxcursor -dev, libxft2-dev, or no, I don't think that one is -dev. So libxrender-dev and libxcb xfixes 0-dev. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and install xfonts terminus. Let's install Firefox ESR, PCman FM, FE, ImageMagick, Scrot, unzip. Let's do wget and curl. Okay, so I wasn't happy with that. Let me just hit home. Apparently it did not like the libxt6-dev and the libxcb-dev. Okay. All right, so I was missing a 1 there. And while that's running, I'm going to check the chat again. All right, so in this stream, what I was meaning to do was actually edit the title of the stream. And hopefully I don't just mess everything up here. So I'm going to go ahead and try and edit the title live because I'm a streaming noob. And if this kills the stream, please accept my apology in advance. All right, so in this live stream, what I want to do is actually patch some features into Spectre WM, kind of like you would on DWM. Because on the Spectre WM GitHub page, you can look at the pull requests and get the commits. You can download those commits as diff files. And if you built Spectre WM from source, you can patch those features in. So hopefully during all this, we can get everything up and running. Can we reach 10 subscribers? No, I'm actually not installing Arch. This is actually already installed. This is Debian Buster. And TechAV, great. Greetings, TechAV. And TechAV says, how about Debian Bullseye with any window manager? You can actually just edit the sources list, and we can change this to Bullseye. All right, so that seems like it worked pretty well. Now let's install LightDM, and tell you what. First, let's clear the screen, and I want to make a directory called for home.src for .source. Let's cd into .source and git clone https://github.com/conformal/SpectreWM. And see, we have Spectre WM cloned. Now, also what I want to do is let's do xdg user dirs update. And now we have all of our folders and everything in our home folder, as we would expect in any other desktop environment. Now, let's do git clone https://github.com/Linux dabbler. And we're going to download our personal .files. Hi sudo. Sudo reboot says pinned workspaces. I can patch that in there. What I was looking at was the other, the one right above that pinned workspaces, or maybe right below it. I was looking at the status bar customizations and stuff. Yeah, I'm probably not going to run rmrf/star. All right, so if I run ls, I see I have .files, and if I cd into my .files directory, I'm going to go ahead and do some setup here. So let's change mod +x bar action.sh. If I can type today, I can do it. And so that is executable now. So I want to move bar_action.sh to home/.config. Now I want to make a few other things executable. So let's chmod +x. Let's do bmenu febg hush lock louder pmenu quieter vol.sh wall weather bar.sh and weather.sh. There we go. And now I want to edit some stuff here. So let's vim febg. That's in user share backgrounds already. Let's look at wall, because I can't remember if I changed all that. Yep, I did. All right, so I actually don't have to edit anything in here now. All right, so now let's just hit the up arrow until I get to where I have chmod. Now let's do sudo mv, all of that, to /user local bin. All right, and now let's go into our wallpapers folder and see I have a bunch of wallpapers in here. So let's sudo mv everything. Actually, I need to create the directory first. Sudo mkdir /user share backgrounds. And now I want to sudo mv everything.png to /user share backgrounds. And let's change the permissions on that. So sudo chmod 755 /user share backgrounds, and change the owner to me, sudo chown CHOWN Mike user share backgrounds. And now if we cd to user share backgrounds, I'm just gonna make something the current wallpaper when I do boot in. So let's say cp133.png to current-wallpaper.png. And we should be good there. And to answer your question, sudo reboot, yeah, you can download the .diff file for the pinned workspaces. I'm going to show that here in just a little bit anyway. Let me clear the screen and go back into my .files, and let's move our vimrc to home/.vimrc. Let's see, let's move x resources into home/.x resources. Actually, I want to copy SpectrWM.conf to home/.SpectrWM.conf. And I want to cat my bash aliases into home/.bashrc. And I want to move my bookmarks into home/.config. All right. So sorry for all the setup here. I know y'all were really ready for me to get into the meat and potatoes of it all, but I just kind of had to set some things up. And now that we have everything installed and I have, I got my stuff done, let's go into .source Spectre WM. And here inside this folder, we have our baraction.sh, build versions. There's a FreeBSD folder, a lib folder, Linux, NetBSD, OS 10, outdated man pages, and lots of .conf files. But where we want to be is actually in the Linux folder. So if we cd into Linux and run the ls command, we have our own Linux baraction.sh, linux.c, our makefile, pledge.h, SpectrWM.desktop, tree.h, and util.h. So what I want to do now is just run make. And once again, I thought I had everything installed, but apparently I don't. So I am missing a library. So if we go back and look and say pkg config command not found. So apparently xft, so sudo apt install lib xft -dev. And I thought I installed that earlier, but apparently not. So let's try to run make again. Okay, now I'm getting a libft2 build.h error. So let's sudo apt install libft2. Actually, no, let's do a search for ft2 and pipe that through less. Sudo apt install lib xft2. That's weird. So let's take a look and see where we are on that. If I go to my browser, and apparently I don't have everything set up yet. So sorry for such a rough stream, guys. I'm a noob, and this was part of my New Year's resolution, was to stream a little more often. And as you can tell, it's not going swimmingly, because all of this worked beautifully on Dev1 a couple of days ago. So it's odd. All right, so that looks a little bit better. Okay, so the package x11xcb was not found. So let's do sudo apt install lib x11-xcb. Okay. Much better. My tab to completion wasn't working because I didn't have install typed right. It's been a good one. So now I want to run make. And XCB xtest was not installed. So sudo apt install libxcb xtest. All right. Let's clear the screen and run make one more time. And now we have intrinsic.h. That's weird. Oh, I wasn't even on my VM. Sorry, guys. Like I said, noob. So if I clear the screen and say sudo apt search intrinsic and pipe that through less. Sudo apt install libxt -dev. And say I thought I installed all this stuff earlier, but apparently not. So if I run make again, it succeeded. So if we ls, you see we now have a Spectre WM and a libs WM hack so0.0. So we're actually going to do something with both of those files. And to do this the quote-unquote Debian way, we don't necessarily need to run sudo make install, because, well, that's just not how Debian usually does things. So what I want to do is actually symlink this. So let's say sudo ln-sf home/.source/ SpectrWM/Linux/SpectrWM to user local bin. And now I want to do much the same thing for libs.wm hack.so. I don't want that to go to user local bin. I want that to go to user local lib. And now that we've got all that made, let's go ahead and cd back and let's do sudo apt install --no install recommends lightdm and lightdm gtk greeter. I want to do this with no install recommends. That way it doesn't install every single package that goes along with it that it doesn't necessarily need. And if there's an update to it that, and since Spectre WM is not quote unquote installed, it might overwrite something and change the default desktop. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, if I run the ls command and get into, actually, just go back into source, Spectre WM, Linux, that SpectrWM.desktop. So let's do sudo cp SpectrWM.desktop to /user share x sessions. That way it's going to show up in lightdm when we reboot. So now it's sudo systemctl enable All right, that should have worked. But anyway, so now let's reboot the machine. Sudo reboot. All right, so now we have rebooted and we're back into LightDM. Let's log in as Mike, and we're going to type in our password, which I promise is not Doctor Who themed. And okay, so it couldn't find ST. So what I want to do is edit my file here, but I need to clean everything up first. So let's do okay, that looks a lot better. All right, much better. All right, so once again, sorry about the super small text. All I'm going to do here is just get my build of ST installed. So I'm going to cd into .source and git clone https://github.com/Linux dabbler /suckless. I'm going to cd into suckless. We're going to move st into the up1 directory. And now we have st. So now we can sudo rm-r suckless. We'll cd into st, and now we can make that. And you see we have st as an executable now. So let's do sudo ln-sf home/.source/st/st into /user local bin. All right, and it says we couldn't find xlog. So now that I have my build of ST in here, I'm going to scale the fonts up so everybody can see a little better. And let's do vim.spectrewm.conf. And what I can do here is, let's do a search for okay, it's just looking for something that will lock the screen. And if I go down, and let's say program lock equals LOK, which is my script, and I want to bind lock to mod plus shift plus delete. I can save that, refresh it, and we're good there. Now, what I don't have set up yet is my fonts, because up here in the top of my file, I didn't go up far enough, it seems like. You see, I have my bar font set as the Ubuntu Nerd font. So let's go ahead and get that. And Wayne Wilson says, I did this for i3 a few times, reinstalling Arch. Joshua, the Debian way, don't F with slash. That's about right. And Wayne says, "Will I be releasing this build of Spectre WM?" Probably not. What I'm going to do here is probably just going to be showing the process of how to do it. And that's why when I installed everything, I installed Build Essential along with it, because that's going to give everything that you need to build anything that you need for this. So I'm going to get out of that, and let's go ahead and get our fonts squared away. We fire up Firefox-ESR. Wow, that is bright. So sorry for your eyes. Let's look up nerdfonts.com. And we're going to downloads. And let's scroll all the way down, because it's in alphabetical order, to the Ubuntu Nerd Font. Let's download that. Going to just save the file. And it has already completed. So let's close this tab and take care of everyone's eyes. And I'm going to scale the fonts up again. And let's cd into downloads. And you see we have ubuntu.zip. So let's unzip ubuntu.zip. And if we run an ls, well, they did all that anyway, it gives us a bunch of TTF files. So I want to put those into a fonts directory. So, but I want to kind of keep it clean. So let's sudo mkdr-p /user share fonts /TrueType /nerdfonts /Ubuntu. And now let's do sudo mv everything.ttf to that file, or to that folder. If we run the ls command again, we're good. So let's super Q to refresh, and we have all of our fonts taken care of again. All right, so now that we've gotten everything kind of sort of set up, let's go ahead and look at how to patch in this here. So if I go to Firefox once again, and let's look at Spectre WM GitHub. Let's just do a search for that. Not a robot. I hate it when I do a Google search in a VM and it does that mess. But anyway, especially during a live stream, it's aggravating. But anyway, so since we're here now on the Spectre WM GitHub page, let's go over here to pull requests. And you can see that we have workspace indicator and bar enhancements, and workspace pinning and assign WS prior. You can get all of these as diff files. So what I want to do, if we look at the workspace indicator, and you can read, all of the conversation that's going on with this. But if you go to the commit, this is where you want to be. So if we click on this, you see we have up here in our address bar, we can copy that. And then if we open up a terminal, I'm going to say wget and then shift and insert that that address, but I'm going to add a .diff to the end, and it was saved. So let's clear the screen, run an ls, and you see I have this super long, number and letter combination .diff. I want to move that to, let's say, bar enhancement.diff. And I'm sorry I'm not really paying attention to the chat much. Let's see. Well, before I do all this, I'll go ahead and catch up a little bit. Yeah, sorry you couldn't see for a while. That was when I was in the TTY, I had everything scaled as best I could, but I still could not make the text any bigger. Yeah, sorry Wayne, that was super duper white. But anyway, as far as a minimal system goes, this is fairly minimal. I mean, we have just under 800 packages installed, but if you were to just install it from the repos, it's going to be a little bit more minimal because it didn't take all of the build tools to go along with it. So let's just go ahead and let's move the bar enhancement.diff to home/.source/Spectre WM. And if we cd into .source Spectre WM, we do have the bar enhancement.diff in here. Now, while I was playing with this, I did notice that I did not need to have this in the Linux folder. It just needed to be in the one above it. So if I cd into Linux, let's go ahead and patch it. So let's patch -p1 into I may have just lied to you. I'm not 100% sure yet. Oh. Wrong syntax. Okay, so now that is patched, I forgot to do the little chevron here. So it said that hunk 1 succeeded. Actually, it says everything succeeded. So now if we cd into the Linux folder again and we run make, we now have an updated Spectre WM. And most everything that we are going to change here is going to be in SpectrWM.conf. So what I'm going to do, let me get rid of my terminal here. Once again, sorry for the super bright everything. So what we're looking at in the commit is everything that got patched. So in the SpectrWM.1 file, and scrolling on down, you see things that were getting removed and things that were getting added. And what I'm looking for, there we go, SpectrWM.conf. This added the workspace current, workspace urgent, active, and empty, and stack mark and stack vertical, all that kind of stuff. So what I want to do is add these lines to my SpectrWM.conf file. So if I open up a terminal again, and let's say vim.spectrwm.conf, and if I go down to workspace indicator, sorry, I get lost in my own configuration file sometimes. Let's see. I'm in the wrong place. All right, so workspace indicator is where I want to be. So if I copied these and I went to Shift Insert, and then I copied these, and went down below Stack Enabled, and that's about all that's different in that file. But now you can go to your workspace indicator and add something to it. So right now my workspace indicator shows that I have list all, mark current, mark urgent, print names. But I'm going to add something else. I'm going to add no indexes, because what that's going to do, if we go on down here where I have my workspaces named, and you see I'm using a nerd font here to give me some icons up here. But you see I have a 1 colon and then my icon, 2 colon icon, 3 colon icon. What that's going to do is actually get rid of the numbers and colons. So now that all that's done, now when I patched this in, it patched it into the SpectrWM default.conf file. So since I had my own, I needed to add that into the configuration file for me. That was in the home folder. So now what I want to do is :WQ to write and quit, and let's do sudo reboot. And let's run febg to fix our wallpaper. And now you see that I do not have the numbers and colons up here in the top part of my panel anyway. All right, so now we're just about done. I just wanted to show that you could patch in a different thing with Spectre WM. And now if I go into and take out all of those. Let's write and quit. And now everything seems to be working properly. So if I go to workspace 2, everything does seem to follow it. And if I change my layouts, let's open up a few terminals. You see up here in the very top corner, if you can see it, I can see it. You may not be able to. Like I said, sorry. I wish I could scale this a little better. But up here, you see that I have a different layout showing. So my master and stack once again, but flipped 90 degrees. And I have a monocle layout. And if you want to learn how to edit your layouts in SpectrWM, I actually made a video on that a while back about editing those layouts in the configuration file. You can do that per workspace. So yeah, that's really about all I wanted to show today. Every time I've been switching back and forth between DWM and SpectrWM for a really long time now, and I always liked the fact that DWM didn't show the number of the workspaces; they just showed the icon that you wanted to have, or where you can just replace that number with an icon or whatever. And I really liked that, and I wished that SpectrWM had that feature, and I found that in the pull request. Got to messing around with it and figured out how to do it, and I wanted to show how that was done on the channel. And because if I wanted to do it, I may or may not be alone in that. So apparently this is going to be a feature when they rebase SpectrWM in the near future, but I'm not sure how long that's going to be until that happens. So until then, if you wanted to have that feature, you can have it now. And now I'm just going to catch back up with the chat. And if I can, I want to add, let's see, a window capture. That's not what I wanted. Yep. Once again, sorry, I haven't figured everything out on this live streaming deal just yet. So, sorry. And hopefully I didn't just show something that I didn't need to show. Yeah, because what I was trying to do was pop out the chat and capture that window, but for some reason that was not showing up as an option in OBS. So anyway, like I said, that's about all I've got for today. Would y'all like for me to just kind of hang out a little while? I don't know. I mean, I've got some time. So anyway, I'm just going to catch back up with the chat a little bit. Let's see. KHWP. Let's see. Since SpectrWM is a mid-ground for DWM and Haskell, have you tried Haskell firsthand? It's a direct DWM clone. Actually, I haven't. I did mess around a little bit with Xmonad, and Xmonad's pretty great. I found that, but SpectrWM is pretty much an easy Xmonad. it doesn't have all the features that Xmonad has, where you know patching in all where you can pull in all the different Haskell libraries and really just put if you know some Haskell, you can do almost anything in Xmonad. Just like if you know some Lua, you can do about anything in Awesome. And I'm not a programmer by trade. I'm actually a maintenance guy. I work maintenance at a tier 1 automotive plant. No, it's cool. I mean, I knew what you meant when you said when you asked if I'd tried Haskell. I do that kind of stuff all the time, and I used to have a terrible stuttering problem, and even more so than I do now. Back years ago, and when and I had a really hard time because my brain was going way faster than what my mouth could talk. So I would just start stumbling over my words all the time. It was terrible. But the job that I had at that time really did help me out because I was forced to deal with the public a lot. And, well, not forced, it was part of the job. And when I was talking to customers and stuff like that, I really had to slow down and get what I needed to say out. And it really worked. And it worked out for me because I don't stutter nearly as bad as I used to. And now I'm not 100% sure if I'm probably not going to release this. It was really just kind of a how-to thing where if you wanted to, let's say you didn't care anything about the bar enhancement. Let's say you wanted the workspace pinning that sudo reboot was talking about earlier. I'm just going to change things. And let's say you wanted the workspace patching that sudo reboot was talking about earlier. You can do much the same thing. If you were to just patch that, download that diff file and patch it in, it would be, essentially the same process, but with a different result. And if I go to, let's say I go to and let's say I look at the pull requests here. You can kind of look at these pull requests as patches, pretty much, because if you can download them as a diff and you have built it from source, you can pretty much patch it just like you would in DWM. And I really thought that was cool. I thought that was super cool. So let's say you didn't care about the workspace indicators, or you want to be able to assign, workspace prior, or setting a bar font. Setting a bar font simply overwrites previous values. I think that was actually a request for a fix. But yeah, now of course there's nowhere near as many patches or pull requests, patches, whatever, in Spectre WM as there are in, say, DWM, because that's made to be patched. Spectre WM is actually not really made to be patched, but I kind of wanted that feature, and once I figured out how to get it, I really wanted to share that with the community. If someone else were interested, that would kind of be a cool thing to do. And I was in the wrong page. All right, guys. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to show that off today. I know I'm starting to circle with what I'm talking about, so I'm about to get off here. And anyway, so this is my first stream of the year. I'm hoping to do this a little more often. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps someone. And yeah, if you'd like to see some more Spectre WM content, you can search my page for it. I've got a lot of stuff on there. Anyway, so once again, thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a nice evening.